On behalf of the Energy and Resources Institute, I'd like to welcome you all to the 15th Delhi Sustainable Development Summit, TERI's annual flagship event. The Delhi Sustainable Development Summit was initiated by TERI in 2001 to bring together diverse voices that can deepen the understanding of sustainable development. Every year, for the last 14 years, distinguished personalities from across the world have come together to take forward the discourse on sustainable development. This year as well, we are delighted to have amongst us ministers and political leadership from several countries, including Australia, Bhutan, Benin, Canada, Congo, East Timor, France, Ireland, Mauritius, Monaco, Maldives, Malta, Mexico, Mongolia, the Netherlands, Norway, the Philippines, Poland, Qatar, Russia, Senegal, the UK, and Zimbabwe. Ladies and gentlemen, we're also privileged to have with us Nobel laureates Kailash Satyarthi and His Excellency Dr. Jose Ramos Horta and Professor Yuan Se Li. May we have a round of applause for all our dignitaries. Today we are privileged to have with us a very distinguished panel to inaugurate the summit. I extend a very warm welcome to Mr. Prakash Javadekar, Honorable Minister of State, Independent Charge for Environment, Forest and Climate Change, India. Mr. Suresh Prabhu, Honorable Minister for Railways, India. His Excellency, Mr. Laurent Fabius, Minister for Foreign Affairs and International Development, France, and former Prime Minister, France, and President, COP21. Mr. Arnold Schwarzenegger, former Governor, California, and founding chair, R20 Regions of Climate Action. Dr. R.K. Pachauri, Director General TERI and Chairman, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. And Dr. Annapurna Vancheshwaran, Director, Sustainable Development Outreach Division, TERI. For the auspicious start of this summit, may I request all our dignitaries on the dais to please light the ceremonial lamp and inaugurate the event. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, before we move ahead, let us take a moment to reflect on the purpose that brings us together here. We have a very short video presentation.
to hold on to everything you see, to hold on to everything you see. You gotta promise, you gotta promise, a promise to be. You gotta promise, you gotta promise, a promise to be.
Be there for the future we want. Ladies and gentlemen, indeed, we have gathered here this morning to reaffirm our commitment to build the future we want. This is a defining year for all of us as we move closer to the climate conference in Paris, where a new agreement will be adopted by all countries to limit global temperatures. Hence, the theme of this year's Sustainable Development Summit is Sustainable Development Goals and Dealing with Climate Change. I now request Dr. Pachauri to propose a formal welcome address.
Honorable Shri Suresh Prabhu, Honorable Shri Prakash Javadekar, Your Excellency Mr. Laurent Fabius, Governor of California, former Governor of California, Mr. Arnold Schwarzenegger, my colleague, Dr. Annapurna Vancheswaran, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, members of the media, excellencies, I'm deeply privileged to welcome the dignitaries on the stage during this session, as well as all the participants at this summit today. This annual event is being held for the 15th time, and over the years it has grown and evolved into a major activity which enlightened leaders from all over the world give us the privilege of attending. We believe that the problems facing humanity and all living species on this planet require the best minds and the most valuable wealth of experience to come together in an effort to develop solutions that would make a difference. There are glamorous events held in other parts of the world where the focus is essentially on seeing what can be done to revive business activity and the global economy in the next quarter. But very few focus on the next quarter century and beyond. Indeed, the problems that we face today have roots that are the result of decades of growth and development on an unsustainable pathway. Solutions would similarly take decades to correct the damage of the past. The growing challenge of climate change is a clear indicator of this reality of unsustainable human activity worldwide. The scientific evidence provided by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change is now overwhelming. The solutions which the IPCC's fifth assessment report has also assessed require implementation with a sense of urgency and purpose, which cannot be postponed any longer. This would require the coming together of all stakeholders and all sections of society. The synthesis report of the IPCC released in November 2014 clearly states, and I quote, "Delaying additional mitigation to 2030 will substantially increase the challenges associated with limiting warming over the 21st century to below 2 degrees Celsius relative to pre-industrial levels. It will require substantially higher rates of emissions reductions from 2030 to 2050, a much more rapid scale-up of low-carbon energy over this period, a larger reliance on carbon dioxide reduction in the long term, and higher transitional and long-term economic impacts. Estimated global emissions levels in 2020, based on the Cancun pledges, are not consistent with cost-effective mitigation trajectories that are at least about as likely as not to limit warming to below 2 degrees Celsius relative to pre-industrial levels. But, of course, they do not preclude the option to meet this goal. Climate change has the characteristics of a collective action problem at the global scale, because most greenhouse gases accumulate over time and mix globally, and emissions by any agent, that is, individuals, community, company, country, affect other agents. Effective mitigation will not be achieved if individual agents advance their own interests independently. Cooperative responses, including international cooperation, are therefore required to effectively mitigate GHG emissions and address other climate change issues." End of quote. The 21st century, according to conventional wisdom, is a period in human history when actions will be dominated by knowledge. Yet, attitudes, systems, and institutions are characterized by an enormous amount of inertia. This inertia is often the result of vested interests as well, which the fourth assessment report of the IPCC clearly stated in the case of mitigation in the energy supply sector. It said, resistance by vested interests may make it difficult to implement. These are basically sustainable energy solutions that was referred to. Knowledge organizations such as research institutions and universities, therefore, now have a much larger responsibility which transcends the requirement of producing and imparting knowledge on subjects of crucial value to human society, but also to carry out a sustained program of information dissemination by which the public and leaders in all walks of life can benefit from the knowledge thus created. The unprecedented developments in information and communications technology in recent years make such outreach possible far beyond expectations that existed in the past. TERI organizes this summit annually as part of its outreach activities, but also to receive valuable feedback and advice from the distinguished leaders of human endeavor collected here, by which TERI can refine and reorient its research activities to fulfill a much larger role in the service of humanity. An enduring and firm belief in the value of establishing and maintaining a high level of relevance in TERI's programs and activities has supported the Institute's growth in the past. TERI started its research activities towards the end of 1982. It possessed no staff or infrastructure in that year, and it has now grown to a level of over 1,200 employees, and with infrastructure and facilities not only in the national capital region of this country, but in several other parts of India as well, and with a firm presence in other parts of the world as well. The range of activities that TERI's mission embraces covers policy research on energy, environment, and climate change, development of renewable energy technologies, particularly those based on biomass resources, biotechnology research focused on finding solutions to the world's environmental problems, and moving towards efficient use of resources. Resource use efficiency in buildings, sustainable solutions related to transport and urban infrastructure, development and dissemination of solutions for cooking and lighting in rural areas to enhance access to clean and efficient technologies and devices. The Institute is fortunate to receive support from a range of sources located in different parts of the globe. Most notably, even though TERI is a not-for-profit, non-government organization, it has been favored with continuing support and encouragement from the Government of India and the governments of various states of India. It also receives valuable support from multilateral and bilateral development assistance organizations. Increasingly now, TERI receives support from corporate bodies as well, both within and outside programs of support which constitute corporate social responsibility. We feel that DSDS, quite apart from being a unique platform globally to advance knowledge and awareness for promoting action on some crucial challenges facing the world, is also a reaffirmation of the support that TERI receives from every corner of the globe. I therefore am privileged to welcome you once again at this flagship event of which TERI is truly proud. I also express the hope that the global community is also genuinely proud of this extremely important forum, which we hope, through your patronage and support, will grow to a level where it can make a major difference to human activities in creating a sustainable future for humanity and all species on this planet. At the end, I'd like to read out to you two quotations from Mahatma Gandhi. And he said, "A small body of determined spirits, fired by an unquenchable faith in their mission, can alter the course of history." But he also, being a realist, knew that there would obviously be all kinds of resistance to change that a group of dedicated people want to bring about. So in that context, let me read out another quotation from Mahatma Gandhi. He said, and I quote, "First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win." Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. R.K. Pachauri, Director General TERI and Chairman, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. I'd now like to request Mr. Arnold Schwarzenegger, former Governor of California and founding chair of R20 Regions of Climate Action, to please address the gathering.
Well, thank you very much for the wonderful introduction. And of course, it is always great to see my very dear friend, Dr. Pachauri. And it is wonderful to be back here again in India. I love coming here. I love seeing all the action here. People are wonderful here in this country. Now, let me just say that I play an action hero in the movies. But Dr. Pachauri is a true action hero. You, Pachauri, always have been a great leader, and you have always been a crusader for the environment and to create a green and sustainable energy future. And what I love about you is that you don't just talk, but you create the action. I mean, just look at your program, the Lighting a Billion Lives initiative. What a fantastic program. Let's give him a big hand for the great work that he is doing. And I also want to say thank you to Prime Minister Modi for all his work that he has been doing. I've admired him since he was the Chief Minister of Gujarat, which I've heard is the California of India. And he has created some really good action, solar action in Gujarat, and he has shown that subnational governments have tremendous power, that we don't really have to wait for the national government to create any action. And I know, and I'm sure, that the Prime Minister is going to continue to lead and to prove the naysayers around the world wrong. So I just want to let him know I'm always ready to help, and it is great to be here. It's also great to be here because I have this ability of stepping in from the fantasy world to the real world. Fantasy world because I just finished Terminator 5, where we jumped around and we had the shootouts and explosions and drama and special effects. But all of this was movie magic. Today I'm here to talk about the real world, real action. And climate change is not science fiction. It is impacting us right now, just like Dr. Pachauri said. This year alone we will dump 40 billion tons of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. And just recently scientists at the Lawrence Livermore Lab, one of the most famous and reputable labs in the world, have proven that we actually have underestimated the warming of our oceans by 24 to 58%. The World Health Organization says that air pollution causes 7 million premature deaths every year. And all over the world you can see flooding, monster storms, droughts and wildfires that are completely out of control. And I've seen that as governor. When I started my term as governor, we had 4 months fire season. By the time I was finished with my governorship, we had fires all year round, and these were out of control fires. And the latest United Nations report predicts that further warming will slow down economic growth, increase poverty, and further erode food security around the world, and there's mass migration and susceptibility to infectious diseases. This is bigger than any movie. This is the challenge of our time, and this is why I'm on a crusade to reverse this trend and to create a sustainable energy future and to terminate climate change once and for all. But if we're going to win this battle, we must think differently. Everyone knows that California is the mecca of the high-tech industry. with companies like Facebook, Twitter, and Apple. As a matter of fact, Apple had a motto, think different. And with that motto, they changed the world. So I'm asking all of you to think different. Let us also change the world. This is exactly what we've always done in California. By thinking differently, we have become 40% more energy efficient than the rest of the United States. If the rest of the United States would adopt our policies, we could literally close 75% of all the coal-fired power plants in the United States. Or it's an equivalent of taking 188 million cars off the road. As leaders from all over the world prepare for the United Nations Climate Change Conference in Paris, I want to share California's example with the world to show that thinking differently is really the only way forward. It is part of California's DNA. And we have always been willing to think differently to protect our environment. California has marched relentlessly towards a clean energy future, no matter which party occupies the governor's office. As a matter of fact, Californians don't even look at the environmental issue as a political issue. We look at it much more as a health issue, as a job issue, economics issue, a national security issue, or simply a people's issue, but not a political issue. We recognize that there aren't conservative roads or liberal roads, that we all travel on the same roads. There is no conservative air or liberal air. We all breathe the same air. There is no conservative water or liberal water. We all drink the same water. So when I became governor of California, I promised the people of California that I would continue the tradition of protecting the environment and to pump up the economy. This is why I was eager to continue to pass groundbreaking environmental laws, like the Low Carbon Fuel Standard, the Green Building Initiative, the Million Solar Roofs, where we added 1 million solar roofs to our homes in California, the Renewable Portfolio Standard, to move our goal from 24% to 48% by the year 2020, and our tailpipe emissions reductions, which was first a California law and now it's a federal law. And of course, AB 32, our commitment to reducing greenhouse gases by 25% by the year 2020 and 85% by the year 2050. And our current governor, Jerry Brown, has just made a commitment to reducing fuel consumption by 50% within the next 15 years in California. So as you can see, the action continues. We sent an important message that we never wait for the federal government or any kind of an international agreement. We want to be their partners, but we don't wait. In California, we don't believe in waiting. We believe in being in a perpetual state of motion. When California passes these laws, of course, some experts thought we were crazy. They said it was Washington's job to do that the states had no business to do that. We said, the hell with that. We don't wait for anybody. Some so-called experts even said that the economy would go right down the drain, that it would wipe out, it would be disastrous for California's economy. You know what? The opposite has happened. Everyone knows that our green economy is going through the roof. We in California attract more than half of all the green tech venture capital in the United States. As a matter of fact, it's almost 60%, even though California only represents 12% of the United States. And we have raised 5 times as much capital as the second-place state. And we are building solar plants, the biggest in the world, and we're building electric cars and hydrogen cars and biofuels. We do all kinds of things. There's action everywhere. But it isn't just the green sector. It's our economy as a whole that is thriving. In fact, we lead the nation in manufacturing, in high-tech, in biotech, in green tech, in agriculture, entertainment, tourism, and the list goes on and on. And as we have implemented our environmental standards, California's economy has outpaced national growth, even though everyone said that we're going to crash with our economy if we would go green. We know in California that we don't have to choose between the environment and the economy. We know the opposite is true. Protecting the environment will create an environmentally a good, sound state and also a sustainable economy for the future. Our success has shown to the world that subnational governments, cities and states and provinces can be a force in the fight against climate change. We are the laboratories of reform. As a matter of fact, subnational governments have the power to cut over 80% of the greenhouse gases as it is. But it isn't just in California. There's great examples of governments taking action all over the world. In Brazil, in Austria, in Germany, in France, in Norway, the United States, in every continent, in cities and states, there are people moving forward. In fact, last year in the United States, the solar industry created for the first time more jobs than the gas and the oil industry combined. And last year also for the first time, the solar industry created more jobs than the coal industry. And right here in India, you can find action everywhere you look too. Prime Minister Modi is leading the solar revolution. He recently raised India's solar investment goal to $100 billion by the year 2022, which will produce an additional 100,000 megawatts of electricity, but clean and green electricity. But it isn't just your national government here in India, it's all over India. You're moving forward in the cities, in the states, and also in the private sector. Under the Prime Minister's leadership, the state of Gujarat had a brilliant idea to cover its canals with solar panels. And then he became the national leader, and now the federal government has said that they want to cover over 1,000 miles of canals and create thousands of extra megawatts of clean electricity. Delhi, for instance, replaced all their polluting taxis and buses with clean-burning natural gas vehicles, which emit 50% less greenhouse gases. And in the private sector, they've stepped up too. As an example, Coal India, the biggest coal company in the world, has just made a decision that they are going to have solar power in their own facilities, but they have also decided to invest and install more than 1,000 megawatts of additional solar. So even though it is a small gesture, but it is a gesture, and it shows there's a change in opinion, in minds, and they're thinking differently. So if the biggest oil company in the world can think different, what the hell is everyone else waiting for? I hope there's a new agreement at the United Nations Climate Change Conference in Paris. I hope that the governments of the world can come to an agreement so that we can have a Kyoto #2 treaty. Everyone knows I love sequels. And I know the French government is very serious about achieving an agreement in December. I've met with the French President, President Hon'ble, and Foreign Minister Fabius, who is with us here today. And let me tell you something, they, along with Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, are very passionate about that, and they really are serious about walking away from that meeting, from that conference, with a huge victory for the world. And I know that India will be a big player in the negotiations. And I trust that the Prime Minister will do everything that he can in those negotiations to make our dream of a sustainable and green energy future become a reality. But subnational governments around the world should not wait for Paris. We should hope, and we should be supportive, and we should do everything that we can to make this agreement happen. But at the same time, subnational governments should continue doing their hard work and to live up to 100% of their potential. We should be working from the bottom up and from the top down. When those two meet, we will create critical mass. We should be defined by our movement and by our action, not by our hesitation. In California, we have been successful because we never waited, we never hesitated, and we never took no for an answer. We always think differently. And today, I promise you that I will continue my crusade, I will continue fighting, I will never give up. And I want to have the rest of the world join us in our crusade to create that green and sustainable energy future. Because it is our responsibility to hand this world over to the next generation in better shape than we inherited it. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we are pleased to announce that TERI is launching a new annual research titled Global Sustainable Development Report, which will assess the progress of the regions and the countries around the world. The first in the series, TERI's Global Sustainability Development Report 2015, is related to the theme of this summit, climate change and sustainable development. The report assesses the climate risks of 193 member countries of the United Nations and their progress on various aspects of adaptation to the impacts of climate change and mitigation. Every year, TERI will bring out a similar Global Sustainability Development Report on the annual theme of the Sustainable Development Summit and rank countries on their progress. I now request all our dignitaries on the dais to release this publication.
What the fall to everything you see, you gotta promise, you gotta promise, promise to be, you gotta promise, you gotta promise, a promise to be.
The second publication, The Energy Security Outlook, is supported by the Department for International Development and is planned as a series that will be brought out every 2 years. TERI's projections for the future show a staggering level of import of energy, including oil and coal, in the next 15 years if we continue with business as usual. The Energy Security Outlook is being brought out not only to sensitize India's decision makers and the public on the importance of energy security as part of India's development prospects, but also to evaluate choices by which energy security can be maximized. May I request our distinguished guests on the dais to release the Energy Security Outlook. Thank you so much. May I now request the Honorable Minister of State, Independent Charge for Environment, Forest and Climate Change, India, Mr. Prakash Javadekar, to please address the gathering.
We are all very eager to discuss various wide subjects for which this Sustainable Development Goals and dealing with climate change, DSDS, is happening. Dr. Pachauri, we as India and the world actually, the community is really proud of you for your dedicated work you have carried out for years together as a chairman of IPCC. Dr. Arnold Schwarzenegger, you are in the movies action hero, but on ground also in California, the way you have taken people along and changing habits in US about energy consumption is not that easy as is looks here, but you did it. So you are action hero on ground also, and therefore we are very happy that you are here. Fabian, if the Paris Agreement, and I am very hopeful that it will have a very smooth passage and a new protocol will emerge out of Paris, if that happens smoothly, the main factor behind it will be Fabian. He is fabulous, and we are very great friends. My senior minister, Suresh Prabhu, actually he introduced me to the environment 7, 8 years ago. And I went from places and I could realize that, never knew that I will be heading the environment ministry. But I was interested in all these issues of environment, climate change and forest and all other initiatives. So today our Prime Minister, and as Schwarzenegger has said, he is a man of action again. Because the world started seriously discussing about the climate change after the then Vice President of the USA, Al Gore, presented the very powerful documentary and the book called Inconvenient Truth. And that shook the conscience of the world. So if that is the inconvenient truth, what Narendra Modi did as a Chief Minister in Gujarat for 12 years, his hands-on experiences are penned down in a book called Convenient Action. So if there is an inconvenient truth, we can still have convenient action to to mitigate the challenge presented by the climate change. And here is the message of the Prime Minister, which I like to read out. I'm happy to learn that the TERI is organizing DSDS 2015 on the theme Sustainable Development Goals and dealing with climate change. In order to be effective, our efforts at poverty eradication and sustainable development must take into account the challenges posed by climate change. I am of the firm opinion that India should view the current global focus on climate change as an opportunity to decisively change the quality of life of its citizens. We should also work towards shift on emphasis from carbon credit to green credit, which takes into account initiatives towards clean energy generation, energy conservation, and energy efficiency. All put together is a green credit. I hope the deliberations of DSDS will lead to fruitful and productive outcomes. I wish the organizers and participants all success. Narendra Modi. Today, we are discussing very important issues on a very peculiar backdrop. First is that 2015 summit of DSDS is different because it is taking place at a historic turning point with three main global events coming up this year. First, MDG's tenure will end in 2015 and SDGs would be agreed in UN summit in September 2015 to carry forward unfinished agenda of MDGs. The second, new UN climate protocol will be agreed in Paris in December 2015. And third, the crucial UN Finance Development Conference in Addis Ababa to consider financing of sustainable development is taking place in July. So this year, the whole full year is climate negotiations year, and I hope that the world will deliver. SDGs is what we desire. But SDGs have to be differently placed for different targets for different countries, taking into account the inequities in which we live. All countries are at different stage of development, and therefore sustainable development goals cannot be one uniform fits all. It has to be different for different countries, but our progress has to be towards achieving the full SDGs and complete the unfinished agenda of MDGs. Because Millennium Development Goal period will be over, but still there is unfinished agenda. We have marched very much on the road to achieving the MDGs, but still various countries are at different stages and they must be given finance and other help to carry out their MDG goals also. But the world has also witnessed a tremendous prosperity in last couple of decades. We have grown, we never expected the way we will grow with this speed. But that growth has also brought us a scenario where there are inequities also growing, and that has to be factored into all the negotiations in this year which we will be coming up. And more than, as I was telling you, there are three big events in this world, but more than this, summit is different because it is taking place first time after the oil prices have hit nearly $40 per barrel. It has a very important bearing of how we consume. Oil prices, which were continuously rising since Millennium Development Goals were finalized, we are now in a different frame of reference in climate change. The game is changing over fossil fuel. Our thinking and our policies need to seize this historic opportunity to launch inclusive development by action on climate change. At the same time, this is the year when new government under PM Modi has started raising ambitions and aspirations of the people at accelerated speed, not only in India, but globally. And as Schwarzenegger has rightly pointed out, 100,000 megawatt is not a small thing. It means that 145 million tons of carbon emissions saved per year. And this we are doing not by 2022, but we will complete this we will achieve our 100,000 megawatt target of renewable energy by 2020. So this is the pre-2020 action by India, which was not mandated as a non-annexed country in the Kyoto regime. We were not mandated to do that, but we are still doing it because we are doing it on our own commitment, on our own conviction, on our own volition. We have no pressures. Nobody has exercising pressure, and Modi government is not in a habit of taking pressures also. But we take our own actions. We have a pressure, and Prime Minister said it very clearly when Obama visited. He said that yes, we have a pressure. Pressure presented by the climate change, and pressure of the future generations, that they have the same right to have the planet which is safe to live with a quality of life where it is maintained. And that is why we are taking pressure of the new generation and their aspirations, and that intergenerational equity is what we are considering. And this is not one instance of Modi ji telling us that go renewable. It is all sustainable development goals on which we want to walk the clean energy path. If we want to sum up, yesterday there was a report that Delhi is the bad city. But let me tell you, I'm not going into the negating something that, oh, we have 20 monitoring stations, you have picked up only one station, or these are facts. But at the same time, let me also tell you, all cities globally are becoming worse because of vehicular pollution, because of many other geographical factors. In Delhi, particularly in a winter season when there is a burning all around the city in the western UPs and in Haryana and Punjab in the fields, it affects. There is a storm and dust coming from Rajasthan and many other places. So there are many reasons why we get. But still, I think we have to make our cities better. Fresh air is my birthright, and I will have it. That should be the people's demand, and government is committed to provide clean water, clean air, and clean energy. That is the way India wants to walk its own talk, and we have ambitions to walk this talk. Ban Ki-moon, as you rightly said, Schwarzenegger, he is a passionate man. He was here a fortnight ago, and he visited our green building from where we operate. I will invite everybody to come to our building and see how this zero energy building, as an energy neutral building or even a positive energy, we consume half of what this size of buildings would have consumed, and we generate more than what we consume. So that's we lead by example, and Ban Ki-moon was there. We had a very good meeting, and we discussed the latest report, his report, The Road to Dignity. Road to Dignity, that all countries need to change, and a joint action in moving to final outcome of SDGs by September 2015. A sense of global common good. The target of reports is to achieve the dignity for all, which puts human face to the SDGs. And I think that's very important. In Lima meeting of climate change, India took a lead in conceptualizing that climate negotiations are not only for the government diplomats, but for the common man and poor people who are most vulnerable to climate change. Impacts of climate change in India would be felt, and if IPCC report is to be believed, and we should, because it's science, and it says that even agriculture will suffer in Southeast Asia by 10 to 15%. And that's why we are launching a new program, aggressive afforestation program, accelerated afforestation with $6 billion, a new carbon sinks we will create to balance the things. So, finally, I'll expect that TERI has organizing this DSDS conference always in Delhi very successfully, and the world leaders come here and discuss various things. But now I'll also ask that next time TERI organizes somewhere near in the rural background, because they are the people who are really suffering, who have the right to grow, and still they have right to have a clean, fresh air, a fresh water, and also a sustainable place to live in. And to that end, we all will work together, and India will do its job under the leadership of Narendra Modi. Thank you. Thanks once again.
Thank you, sir. I'd now like to request the Honorable Minister for Railways India, Mr. Suresh Prabhu, to please address the gathering.
Excellencies and friends, let me welcome all of you who have come from different parts of the world, some of you different parts of India, with a very one common goal. Obviously the destiny was the same, you all coming to Delhi, but that was the destination of a place. But our common goal, obviously, is to fight a common problem that we are all facing, how to deal with climate change. So let me welcome all of you to India, welcome to Delhi. Also thank my good friend, Dr. Pachauri, and a great institution, TERI, for organizing this global event in New Delhi. This is the 15th edition of this great event. And I can see, as the concern for climate change is growing, so is the interest of people like you in combating with him is also growing, which shows in terms of the type of people who are present here and also the type of commitment you're showing. So let me thank and congratulate Dr. Pachauri and TERI for continuously organizing this event to keep focused on how to deal with the biggest challenge that humanity has ever faced, and that's the climate change issue. We have come a long way over a period of time. Since we signed the UNFCCC, we made a protocol in Japan, Kyoto, and we have come a long way. We could build good coalitions. We could create huge awareness. We could agree many times on action. Unfortunately, of course, those who had to act didn't act as much, or some didn't act at all. But still we could move in a particular direction, at least in terms of thinking, and therefore we have come a long way. But in this time, since we decided that climate change was a challenge, since then, since Rio first, we have now irrefutable evidence, a scientific evidence that climate change is a reality. We also have intolerable experiences of common people who don't understand science, that climate change is affecting them adversely. We have a huge loss. Only those who understand the numbers of GDP, even in terms of lost output. We also experiences of people who have suffered because of lack of tourism, because of lack of jobs, and many others as a result of this climate change. So despite the fact that we have come a long way, unfortunately, what we agreed some decades ago, we are not able to act on it as good as we should have. And that's why the problem has worse compounded. And as just now, I was just glancing to the report that we just released, and Dr. Pachauri, I thank you for that. It looks like even Nicholas Stern had also said some time ago that if you delay the action, more is the cost of combating with it. And therefore, this is a big challenge we are all facing. The challenge is staring at us, and therefore this is a very important event that we organized. Globally, we are seeing more or less all the countries in different form or the other suffering. But there are some countries who are suffering more than the rest. And as my good friend and a very competent and a very committed Minister of Environment has just pointed out, that India is one of the worst sufferers of this. And despite the fact that we do not have adequate capability to deal with it, we are doing our best to deal with that challenge. But globally, everybody, each citizen of the other, in some form or the other, is affected by climate change, and therefore we really need to act on it. And to do that, I think we really must now innovate our thinking as to how to deal with this. And I'm very glad that we are talking about the new Sustainable Development Summit. In terms of Sustainable Development Goals, we had a Millennium Development Goals. Unfortunately, the global community is really very good, and I must congratulate them that they agree on everything very quickly. So we could get the best of the heads of the government coming together 15 years ago, and all of them unanimously agreed that development goals are important. But when the millennium went away, so were the development goals were forgotten. Now it's a time we must find out a unified strategy of dealing with climate change, dealing with environmental issues, without forgetting developmental aspect of it. So the new innovative way that we should look at it is how do we actually marry the development on one side and these goals of this, what we agreed, and the concerns of the developing countries into an actionable point which will make sure that we combat climate change, at the same time we do not create the type of social issues which we'll have to encounter with. Also, we all agree when we realize, and I'm glad that the governor was mentioning, that there is a huge potential to create new jobs. But those new jobs have to be created because the old jobs are anyway going. We may not have realized it, but the lifespan of those jobs which we have created from the old economy, which created these problems of climate change, are in any case under threat. Therefore, we really need to create a new economy which will actually ensure that we have a type of energy source, we have a type of usage of energy the way we use it today and change it completely, and also create a new economy which is based on compatible with climate change related issues, and also create a type of job that we need to protect the livelihood of many people that are born today and are going to get born tomorrow. And therefore, we really need to work on this as a unified strategy. And I'm sure if you do that, we'll definitely be able to manage this in a very effective way. I know we must bring in also the concerns of food security, energy security, and climate security together. And that should be the new way of bringing out these sustainable development goals. And that could really be a game changer in terms of doing that. I am really hopeful that Paris will be the new solution, the place where we can find a solution. Paris is known as a capital of fashion. But I hope Paris becomes a capital of passion, but also people believing in climate change, so they will think it's my passion now to change climate change. So let's bring fashion and passion together. Let's make climate change a fashionable issue for people to follow, but also make it a real passionate issue in which we really find some solution in Paris and do not make it another round of talk and negotiation. And for that to happen, I hope this particular summit that we are meeting here should create a building block for making that happen. And to make that, we really need to find out some of the issues that we really need. For example, as my good friend and a very distinguished member of a cabinet was saying, that India would like to change the energy mix. We want to bring in more and more renewable energy. We are already committed to make 100,000 megawatts of solar energy, maybe another 100,000 megawatts of wind energy. And let me tell you, our potential for wind is 560,000 megawatts. And that's only onshore. We are not even calculating the offshore, and we have 7,800 kilometers of coastline. We have a huge potential for solar because we have got 300 days of sunshine in all parts of India, and that could be really harnessing a huge solar energy. But to make this, we really need a linkage between this market where there is a potential and some sort of a global action which can really make the market thrive. And those markets can thrive if we have a global deal on climate change, which will facilitate innovation, which will ensure that this type of action could take place on the ground by providing some market support as well as some international support in terms of technology and others. And therefore, we really need to find out how do we develop this new mechanism. We had the CDM, we had a joint implementation, and all of that is now forgotten. But let us think about new ideas, new innovation, and make it happen in a proper manner. And if we can do that, the global community could benefit because the providers of this knowledge and ideas could also benefit because they are the providers. The users will also benefit because they are going to use it for a sustainable use, and all of that could really build a new partnership that is really needed to bring a new change in the way we are actually handling climate change in the past. I think we really need to look at many issues. One of that issue also is, do we really need to act on the impending danger of having a world population becoming 10 billion in the next few years' time? If the population increases, the demand for scarce resources will become even in a worst possible manner, how to deal with them. And in my opinion, one of the ways to deal with it, we talk about supply-side intervention, and we also talk about demand-side intervention. I think the best demand-side management, amongst many other things, is also to control population of globe, 10 billion people globally. Is it something sustainable? We really need to find out whether we can have a carrying capacity for a planet to have so many people. We need to think about, and therefore if we can bring about new ideas into being, make globe and the planet as one of our prime concern, make sure that we all work as a team and help all those countries like India who want to act more and try to bring in all the synergies together. I'm very sure we'll be able to tackle this big challenge together very soon. And I really wish that this particular gathering, and I can see such distinguished people present here, and many of them are my very good friends. I work with you, so I know your commitment. I think if we can now really put this commitment to action, we can really bring a transformation that is really needed to make a world safer. The future generation will be happy with us. At the same time, our present life will be far better and far better than what it is today. So let's hope this particular DSDS brings out that outcome in the next 2 days' time. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. And now I'd like to request His Excellency, Mr. Laurent Fabius, Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Development, France, and former Prime Minister of France and President's COP21, to present his inaugural address.
Presidents, dear ministers, Governor Schwarzenegger, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. I will speak English. Forgive me. Thank you, Dr. Pachauri, for inviting me to this major event. I wanted to be here today for the DSDS, first because it is an important event by itself, and because also it is on the road to the COP21 that France will host and chair at the end of this year. No doubt that 2015 will be a decisive milestone for our collective action, both on climate change and development. With many conferences, but particularly at least 3 major upcoming international conferences on financing for development in Addis Ababa in July, on sustainable development goals in New York in September, and on climate change in December in Paris. And today, and it was emphasized by all our speakers, more than ever, we need to address climate and development together and not against each other. I would like to make 4 brief observations. The first one is, as far as science is concerned, the old climate skepticism is no longer an option. The last IPCC report confirmed that climate change, or rather climate disruption, is an obvious threat. And we must all thank Dr. Pachauri, Chairman of the IPCC, for his magnificent leadership on this. I consider that the scientific community has done its job, and now governments, local authorities, business community, Civil society need to act. Second point, what can be expected from the Paris Climate Conference? I remember when Paris has been chosen, well, it was easier because we were the only candidate. Many of the people who came and congratulated me said, and on the spot I didn't completely understand it, but now I understand. They said, good luck. Now, it's done. France will host the COP21 after the COP20 in Lima, which did a very good job. You must be assured that we will spare no effort to deliver the universal and meaningful agreement that the world needs. Negotiations among 195 countries on such an essential matter are a challenge. Achieving an outcome that can generally be considered a success will require, we all know that, a major shift in our economic models, what you call think and act different, toward low-carbon pathways. And it will require strong political leadership and a collective spirit of responsibility and solidarity. So far as the presidency of the COP20 was concerned, we want to be transparent, impartial, and ambitious. We will make sure that every voice is heard. This agreement should be an agreement among all and for all. This agreement will need to be ambitious and respond to the scientific call for urgent action. And equally, it will need to fully take into account each country's right to development. An agreement that would lead some countries to consider their growth hampered by its provision would not be acceptable. What do we propose to achieve in Paris? 4 pillars. The first one, major one, is a universal and differentiated agreement that demonstrates that we are taking action today and that we shall take additional strong measures in the long term to achieve our common objective of limiting global warming to below 2 degrees Celsius. And I hope, and we were discussing that a few moments ago, that we shall be able to agree on the major issues even before Paris. Second, national contributions by each country. We hope that they will be announced as early as possible so that we may gain a full and shared understanding of where we really stand. Third, a financial package. No significant reduction of greenhouse gas emission can be achieved without equitable access to sustainable development. You all know that the initial capitalization of the Green Climate Fund has amounted to over $10 billion. It is a first step. But beyond that, we need increased financing from both public and private sources to reach $100 billion a year starting from 2020, while shifting investment from high carbon to low carbon technologies, new activities. And fourth, besides governments, we want the COP21 to gather initiatives from other stakeholders, private businesses, local and regional entities, and civil societies. We call on private companies and businesses and sub-governmental entities to this agenda of solutions. My third remark is that taking action against climate disruption and for poverty reduction should not be regarded as two separate and contradictory goals. As Prime Minister Modi recently said, global awareness of climate change is an opportunity to improve the quality of life of our citizens and to fight poverty. The world, we all know that, needs growth in both developed and developing countries. The way forward is to ensure sustainable growth that creates wealth, jobs, and social progress. Just as yesterday fossil fuels enables our economies to develop, tomorrow clean technologies and the right policy framework can ensure a new cycle of sustainable growth and development. And action against climate disruption is and will be a source of opportunities. Now, what could India's role be in this context? The answer belongs to India. Indeed, India is a major economy and therefore a major emitter, as well as a key player in both climate and sustainable development goal negotiation. At the same time, we all understand the constraints of India. We have taken note, too, of the ambitions which have already been proposed. 100 gigawatts of solar energy before 2020, a multiplication by 3 of the nuclear installed capacity before 2025, 100 smart cities, very large programs in energy efficiency, frugality in consumption. These are real ambitions. And we all know that we need a signal that all countries are embarking on a trajectory toward a low-carbon economy based on their national circumstances. No doubt that India will play a leading role in this effort, and no doubt that it will do it under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi, who is really dedicated to this common goal. As regards France, apart from our national and European decisions, we shall strongly support all the initiatives taken by the Indian government to tackle climate disruption. We shall continue to collaborate with India on this issue: carbon-free energy, partnership on civilian nuclear energy, water, urban development, and space. Now, my final word. I would like to reiterate the mantra of Prime Minister Modi when he said, "Together with all, development for all." I think this applies not only to India, and it can inspire the entire world. Our common goal should be to reconcile human development and the preservation of nature. And in this regard, it is no surprise that the DSDS, this major event, is taking place in India, a country that since ancient time has always cherished nature. Now, the minister has said that Paris was a city of passion and fashion. Okay. I would add passion, fashion, action, and transformation. I wish all of you a very fruitful meeting here. And for those of you who will come to Paris next December, a productive preparation and an excellent COP21. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. And for the closing remarks, I'd like to invite Dr. Annapurna Vancheshwara, Director, Sustainable Development Outreach Division, TERI.
Thank you. dignitaries on the dais, and distinguished guests, it is both a privilege and honor to have you all present here for the 15th edition of the Delhi Sustainable Development Summit. Honorable Minister, Mr. Suresh Prabhu, he had mentioned and congratulated Dr. Pachauri for the 15 years of the summit. Ladies and gentlemen, I truly have been fortunate and can state with pride, with of course no reference to my age, that I have been part of each and every DSDS, and over the years seen this platform grow both in content and participation. My colleagues, Dr. Pachauri and my colleagues, feel that undeniably the journey, though arduous, has been filled with excitement and expectation. Thank you all for supporting us for the last 15 years. His Excellency Mr. Fabius, Honorable Minister Mr. Suresh Prabhu, and Mr. Javadekar, and Governor Schwarzenegger, may I, on behalf of TERI, express our deep gratitude to each one of you for your presence here for the 15th edition of DSDS. Over the years, DSDS has emerged as the foremost platform to deliberate on sustainable development and environment and climate change issues, as we have heard from all the other dignitaries on the dais. This year, the summit will have over 15 thematic tracks that will be convened tomorrow and the last day of the summit. These thematic tracks not only forge partnerships, but provide an opportunity for diverse stakeholders to share their experiences and knowledge. Our heartfelt gratitude to all our summit partners, proudly displayed on the backdrop behind, whose support, some of them year on year, has been invaluable and instrumental in whatever success we have achieved thus far. Thank you once again to all our partners who are mentioned on this stage. I'm not naming any of them because it would take a plenary session to name all our partners. Ladies and gentlemen, we shall discuss and deliberate in the coming 3 days the future of our planet and how best to protect and care for it. However, we know that it's crucial for young minds to shape the future, their future. We are delighted we have amongst us today 25 youth leaders representing Belgium, Canada, China, Germany, Philippines, Sri Lanka, Uganda, United States, and of course India. DSDS 2015 is giving them a unique learning opportunity to listen, witness, and interact with some of the world's greatest thought leaders. May I request our young friends to stand up and distinguished join me in cheering these youth leaders. We had asked these young friends before they came to the summit to complete a sentence, which was, sustainable development goals will be incomplete without. They were to complete that sentence. And I would like to display one of them, which was from among one of these students, and I will read it out. Sustainable development goals will be incomplete without realizing our actions have a ripple effect and affect all parts of the complex system of the earth. Indeed, a profound statement from these leaders of tomorrow. Thank you very much, and applause to them again.